Thank you all so much for taking the time to join us. This is the final informational webinar for the Vets Index's Employer Awards for 2023. I will start things off by giving you guys a quick rundown of what we're going to cover today. So we'll start with some quick introductions of Vets Indexes. I will show you all our 2022 awardees. Give you an update on where our 2023 Vets Indexes Employer Awards program stands right now. We'll walk you through some of the costs and benefits of participating. The Employing U.S. Vets Conference and the Veteran Employment Benchmarking Service are a couple of our related initiatives where participating in the survey will yield some possibilities for you on both of those fronts. So excited to talk about those in a few minutes. I will give you a rundown on what's new in the survey as compared with last year's version. And we'll share some shortcuts, tips, and advice in filling your survey out. Now, throughout this presentation, please feel free to enter questions into chat at any point. You should be able to enter them either into the chat or the Q&A section. And at the end of the presentation, I will go through and answer all of those. So I figure this presentation should take somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 minutes, and then I will leave as much time as needed for questions after that. With that, let's get started. So to start, who is Vets Indexes? A lot of you are probably already familiar with us from one of our ventures or another. But I know there are some people who are on this webinar who, are coming here for the first time. So a quick introduction. We are headquartered in New York City, and there are essentially four major initiatives that we do that you may know us for. So the first is what we're here to talk about today, the Vets Indexes Employer Awards. We will get into a lot more detail on that soon. There's also the Veteran Employment Benchmarking Service, which is a very useful, unique kind of tool that allows you to compare your organization's veteran-related policies, practices, and outcomes to what other organizations are doing, both at kind of a big picture summary level and in extremely granular detail. So that can be very useful. I'll talk a little more about that soon. So stay tuned there. And next, our semi-annual Employing U.S. Vets Conference. This is, next version of this is going to be April 13th in New York City. Really excited for that event. We have an amazing keynote speaker I'm going to tell you all about soon. It's become one of our biggest initiatives. I think probably the largest, most influential veteran employment conference in the country, I'm proud to say. And finally, I said there were four initiatives. I only talked about three on the last screen. Our fourth is the one that you all are probably kind of least likely to be familiar with, but it's the reason we're called Vets Indexes. So we develop unique impact indexes that can be linked to investable financial products. And these indexes are of companies that excel, publicly traded companies that excel at employing veterans. So, kind of the basic premise behind this part of our business is that veterans are uniquely talented human resources, but not all companies appreciate that the value that they represent. And even among companies that do, not all companies do have as good veteran programs as the others. Some are going to do a better job with recruiting, retaining, developing, promoting veterans than others. So our basic thesis was the organizations that, make the best use of this very talented, but, kind of underappreciated human resource pool, talent pool will see benefits to their bottom lines. And without getting too much into the details, you can see from the screenshot on the right side of the screen that chart The dark blue line is the S&P 500 common benchmark. The light blue line is our flagship index, VETSX. That thesis has been pretty well confirmed. Very excited to get that indexes side of the business kind of revving. We've been making a lot of progress on that recently, and happy to talk if any of you all have questions about that. Happy to talk with you all about that. And also important to mention, since we're here talking about the VETS Indexes Employer Awards, the way organizations get added to our indexes is through the VETS Indexes Employer Awards survey. So as I jump from introductions into a more in-depth discussion of the VETS Indexes Employer Awards, important to emphasize that everything I was just talking about related to our indexes is obviously applicable only to publicly traded companies. You can't invest in a non-publicly traded company. It's very important for me to emphasize right now that only applies to our indexes. For the VETS Indexes Employer Awards, these are open to organizations of all types and sizes. So yes, publicly traded companies for sure, also privately held companies, government agencies, departments, a lot of law enforcement agencies participate in the survey, nonprofit organizations, institutions of higher learning. Bottom line, if you are an organization for whom veteran employment is a priority, the VETS Indexes Employer Awards is for you. And important to talk also, I think, about how this program was developed. A lot of thought went into the survey and a lot of expertise as well. I myself have more than a decade's worth of experience surveying and polling veterans as well as the organizations that seek to work with them, help them, serve them, et cetera. This survey was also developed with the advice, insight, and expertise of some of the foremost experts in veteran employment around the country, from veteran nonprofits, corporate America, government agencies and regulators. A lot of people's expertise and wisdom went into that. And, thank you to all of them who helped, because they absolutely made this I think, better instrument. So the 2023 awards are our third incarnation of the VETS Indexes Employer Awards. Last year, for the 2022 VETS Indexes Employer Awards, we recognized 98 different employers with awards. And they were recognized across 4 different award levels. And I will show those to you right now. This page, by the way, is available on our website. I would encourage you all to view it yourselves at your leisure. This is the URL, vetsindexes.com/awards-results-2022. And here are our 2022 5-star employers. Four-star employers. Three-star employers. And finally, our recognized employers. Congratulations to all of these organizations. Important for me to mention right now that while we recognize organizations across 4 different award levels, not all organizations that participate in the VETS Indexes Employer Awards program by submitting a survey will ultimately receive awards. We think it's important that the VETS Indexes Employer Awards are an indicator of quality, an indicator of organizations that really know what they're doing in the veteran employment space and have separated themselves from the pack. In order to do that, we can't just give out participation trophies to every organization that responds to the survey, regardless of what their survey says. Unfortunately, we can't give every organization that participates an award. That being said, we do have a strict confidentiality measure in place where any organization that participates but does not receive, that submits a survey but does not receive an award, we just make absolutely no mention of that organization. Essentially, from the outside public's perspective, it's exactly the same as if that organization hadn't participated in the survey at all. They would have no way of knowing whether you participated or not. Your organization, if you're not recognized with an award, is just not mentioned. So we wanted to create kind of a low barrier to entry for this, and wanted to make it something where essentially there isn't risk involved for organizations to participate. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Pressed the wrong button there. Appreciate you all bearing with me. And I see Mr. Johnson just raised his hand. I'm not able to, in the format of this webinar, actually open up video and audio to other folks. So Mr. Johnson, if you would just enter your question in the Q&A portion, I will get to it at the end. And also, if you would like Mr. Johnson or anyone else on today's webinar to talk through any of this one-on-one, you can get me by email or phone. You can see on this next slide I just jumped over to, that is the email you see, survey@vetsindexes.com, lands right in my inbox. And the phone number that you see, that is my cell phone. I would not be giving out my cell phone on a webinar right now if I didn't really want you all to use it. So any questions you have about the survey, any problems you're running into as you're trying to fill it out, or areas where you'd like a little more information, anything I can do to help, please reach out. That's all of my contact information. Wanted to, on this next page, give you guys an idea of where things stand right now with the 2023 Employer Awards. This survey launched early November of 2022. The deadline is very, very close, less than a week away, February 15th. A lot has changed, and I've got a few things to update you all on. First, related to the deadline, February 15th is indeed very close, just 6 days away. But I want to emphasize we do have some flexibility here. I'm talking about days, not weeks. So if you need more time, let us know. Let us know how much longer you'll need. We want to work with you. We want to allow as many organizations to participate as possible. If pushing the deadline back a few days can help, or there's anything else we can do to assist, please let us know. We want to work with you. Also important to emphasize, this is a pretty brief survey. So even if you haven't started, a single question yet, it's still more than possible, easily possible, to start and progress through and ultimately complete and submit the survey even before the February 5th deadline. Doesn't need to take that long. One last and particularly important item I'm very happy to be able to announce here. We are seeing record numbers right now of in-progress surveys, basically double what we've seen in previous years. We've got more than 600 different employers that have started survey responses. That's not 600 different people. That's more than 600 different unique organizations. And that number keeps growing every day. Big picture, we are expecting a very large increase in the number of 2023 participants compared to previous years. So if you're on the fence about participating, you might want to know that these numbers are going up, and it's increasingly likely that some of your competitors are participating and may receive awards. And again, finally, my contact information here. Please do not be shy about reaching out. So let's talk through some of the costs and the benefits to participating. The place we have to start this conversation, unfortunately from my perspective, but I think this is necessary due to the practices of some other organizations different from ours, important to talk about whether there are any sort of financial costs associated with participating in this program. Easy and quick answer for us there, none. There is absolutely no cost to receive a survey invitation, to fill out the survey, to have your survey evaluated, to be recognized as an awardee, and particularly to use the little awardee logo seal that you'll see in coming slides. A lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, some other organizations out there do veteran employment surveys similar to ours, and some of them have different policies in this regard. From our perspective, we think pay to play is not a good way to operate these things. We think that the Vets Index's employer awards should be something that companies can only earn through what they're doing for veterans, not something that companies can ever buy. And I'm saying companies, I mean companies and all organizations of all types, for-profit, nonprofit, government, et cetera. But for us, the bottom line is this is something that should only be earned through what you're doing for veterans, not bought by giving my organization or any other organization licensing fees. So not for sale, very important marker for us, really an ethical marker, but need to start the conversation there. The financial cost isn't the only cost to keep in mind. You also have to think about the man hours. When you're focusing on this survey, that time is time where you're not focusing on the many other responsibilities I know you all have. So we built the survey to be respectful of your time. I've seen some other veteran employment surveys out there that can be just insanely long. I've seen 200 questions, 300 questions. I think that's a little out of hand. We created our survey to be a lot shorter and also work dynamically, where if a previous survey question indicates that a question we have later in the survey really isn't necessary, you don't even have to see it. We just have the survey system automatically skip over that for you. So as a result, this survey can be completed in just a few hours. And the day the survey launched, November 7th, literally within hours of our launching the survey, we already had a few people completing and submitting it. So, not quite as heavy a lift as some of the other surveys you may have seen. And finally, a note about confidentiality. I mentioned previously confidentiality related to organizations that participate, submit a survey, but ultimately are not recognized with an award. Also important to emphasize confidentiality in another respect. So with this survey, we built this to be an objective instrument that is very focused on making apples to apples data comparisons between organizations on their veteran-related policies, practices, outcomes. That necessarily means we are asking for information that a lot of organizations, don't publish, would not want published, would be uncomfortable if it was all out there for the competitors and all of the world to see. We understand and respect that. And for that reason, we have very strict confidentiality measures in place related to all data provided in the survey. So of all of the questions in the survey, of all the data that we asked for, there are literally 3 data points, literally 3 items that we may publish about your organization as provided in the survey. They are, number 1, the name of your organization, number 2, the logo for your organization, and number 3, the award level that your organization received. That is it, nothing else. And I should say we have signed, every year that we've done this, we have signed NDAs, including this year, for organizations that wanted to essentially, get that down in a legal document. We are perfectly comfortable doing that. And if signed NDA would clear the path to your organization participating, send it along, we will get it signed. So we talked through on that last slide some of the costs associated with participating. Now the next few slides, I want to talk through some of the benefits. And there are a lot. You can see at the top some of the public recognition that is associated with this. We've been very gratified to see a lot of media interest and media pickup of the Vets Index's employer awards. You can see we're featured on CNBC, military.com as well. And at the bottom, you can see this row of award logos. These are the logos that our awardees will receive for the 2023 awards, depending, of course, on which award level they get. Again, no licensing fees for these logos, and they are a very important recruiting tool. They are understood in the veteran community essentially as a seal of approval that lets you know, as a veteran transitioning out of the military, this is an organization that has this logo. The fact that they have this logo means it's an organization that knows something about veterans, that understands where I'm coming from, that's made some efforts to create an inclusive and welcoming workspace for veteran employees. So, kind of a seal of approval that tells veteran talent your organization is worth another look. But also important to think about this, not just from the recruiting angle, but for other aspects of your business. It is great that your organization is, focused on veterans and doing things for them, trying to help them. What would be even greater would be if everyone knew about it. Do your customers know about this? Do your clients know about this? Do your business partners know about this? The Vets Index's Employer Awards provide objective third-party validation that your organization is really going above and beyond when it comes to veteran employment issues. So, you can use this. I should emphasize when I say no licensing fees, that means you can use this logo for internal marketing, external marketing, advertising, communications, throw it up on billboards, whatever you like. No fees, no restrictions. The benefits to participating in the Employer Award Survey go far beyond the awards, though, and extend to some of our other initiatives. So one of those is the Employing U.S. Vets Conference. All survey respondents, every organization that completes and submits a response to the 2023 Vets Index's Employer Awards will receive one complimentary ticket to join us for our April 13th conference. That's going to be in New York City, and is shaping up to be a great event. These Employing U.S. Vets conferences, our next one in April is our 8th incarnation of them. We hold them twice yearly, and they're really a great forum that brings together the kind of top voices in the veteran employment space to talk about what works, what doesn't work, share best practices, network, can be very, very useful, especially for organizations, that might be a little newer, focusing on veterans where they have a few more things to figure out than an organization that's, been focused on this for some time. There's a lot of wisdom in that room. We had more than 1,000 people register for our last conference in October. Always seeking sponsorship. So if that's something your organization is interested in, you can find more sponsorship information on our website. And you can see the registration link below, employingusvets.com/register to get your ticket. And leading off that event as our keynote speaker will be Dr. Yashika Neves. She is kind of the perfect person that you'd want kicking off this event. She works at the Department of Defense, where she essentially functions as a liaison between DoD and organizations, employers like yours, government agencies, and other partners to just make sure everyone is rowing in the same direction and knows what they need to know and is doing things the right way in the veteran employment space. So she is an amazing subject matter expert when it comes to transitioning veterans, their skills, and also their talents. I'm really looking forward to our keynote and hope to see all of you in New York for that event as well. So in addition to the Employing U.S. Vets Conference, another benefit associated with participating in the Vets Index's Employer Awards is that it unlocks our benchmarking service for you. Now, the Veteran Employment Benchmarking Service is a very unique program that shows both at kind of a big picture summary level and a very granular, question by question, sub question by sub question, really digging into the details, shows how your organization compares with others related to, veteran recruiting, hiring, retention, development, support. We also have longitudinal tracking that can show kind of year over year where your organization is headed versus where other organizations are headed. Now, important for me to mention the confidentiality strictures that I talked about, associated with the survey a few minutes ago. These are very much in place for the Veteran Employment Benchmarking Service, since the service is, really based on organizations' responses to the survey. All of the data that we provide is aggregate and anonymized. So the only organization that if you participate in this, the only organization that as a participant, you would see that organization's individual survey data for is your own. For other organizations, you're going to see various aggregate averages, and it won't be possible for your organization to figure out what any other single organization is doing in the veteran employment space, nor would it be possible for, if you participate, any other organization to figure out what your particular organization is doing. But I think where this can be particularly helpful is it gives you a sense of where, as a group, as a cohort, organizations are focusing more of their attention and resources, and where they found it's really not worthwhile. We don't do much over there. So we all have limited budgets, limited time. This can kind of point you in the right direction for where to go. So I'm including a screenshot here from our benchmarking, just to give you a quick idea of what it looks like, how it works. You can see a lot more information on our website. You see the link there, vetsindexes.com/benchmarking. But essentially, this is what it looks like. We take, and I'll say at the outset, we're looking at sample data here. The averages are not accurate, and the your response data is completely made up. It don't reflect any actual organization's responses. But what we do is we take your organization's response, which you see here in red, and we compare it to our full field of survey respondents, the dark blue square, peer group of survey respondents of a similar organization type and size to yours. And finally, most important, I think, the 5-star average. This shows the average performance of each of the organizations that received our highest award level, 5-star employers. So, kind of gives you an idea of what a reasonable stretch goal is. But a lot of useful intel to be gleaned there, and hope to have many of you all participating in our benchmarking after this awards program ends. All right, so with all of that, if you are ready to, you're interested, you're on board, you want to participate, the first thing that I would advise you to do is right now, today, as soon as possible, find and click the unique link that we sent you. You should be able to find this in emails from me or my colleagues. Look for emails from the vetsindexes.com domain. And we were pretty careful to, clearly label the unique links. If you can't find yours, or if your organization never got one and needs it, just send an email to me, survey@vetsindexes.com, and I will, one way or another, get you what you need to get started. Another document that you might find useful and helpful is our blank survey PDF. That's going to include every possible question and answer option throughout the survey, so it can help you plan out your response. Our frequently asked questions covers in great detail basically everything you'd want to know about the Vets Indexes Employer Award. So a lot of perspective there. And again, our deadline coming up very, very soon, February 15th. All right, so just a few last slides, and then I will get to the questions. I do see we already have a couple questions that came in. Quick reminder, please do start entering your questions into the Q&A now. I will be turning to them in just a few slides. But before that, let me give you all a little more idea of what to expect as you're working on the survey. So The survey has a few introductory sections at the beginning and a conclusory section at the end. But the real meat of it are the 5 survey sections you see here, which also correspond with kind of the 5 areas that we focus our evaluation on. And you can see what they are here. I won't read them all to you. I also want to talk quickly about the question types that you're going to see. And it's going to be very heavy in the data and objective style question types, and very light in the text entry, write me an essay or a paragraph. So some organizations that do Veteran Employment Awards essentially just ask responding companies to write an essay about how much they love veterans, and whichever essay they think is the best, get some sort of recognition. That's fine. From our view, that's not really the most objective way to handle a survey. And it's really hard to make fair apples to apples comparisons if what we're looking at are essays. So instead, we've structured this to be very heavily focused on data that does allow such apples to apples comparisons. So it's a very data heavy survey, and we have designed it to be very objective as well. You'll also see here this link to our methodology, which I will click on and give you all a quick look at. This is similarly on our webpage, so feel free to visit at any point, and I would encourage you to do so. But you can see here how heavily we weight each of these 5 categories, with veteran employee development and retention being our most heavily weighted category, 28.4% of the evaluation value. All right, so what is new in this year's survey as compared with the survey from last year? First, not much. It is very, very similar to last year's survey. If you worked on that, you will see a very similar survey this year. All the years, of course, advance by 1. It's next year. Really, the most significant edits that we made were in section 2 and really only applied to publicly traded companies. We kind of expanded the possibilities for listing stock tickers for parent and subsidiary organizations. So, that's really it. Really not very many changes. We did expand some of the explanations and add a few links to outside resources in the question text. But we're basically asking the same things as last year. Okay, so tips and shortcuts for filling out the survey and having an easier time doing it. First, I would definitely encourage you all to review the blank survey PDF and perhaps use that to gather answers before you're actually filling out the survey online. Now, when you do fill out the survey online, important to know that your answers save automatically. They are saved each time you advance forward a page or each time you go back a page in the survey. So what this means is using your unique link, you can fill out the survey over multiple sessions, and you can, fill it out, press the next button to advance to the next survey page, close your browser window, and come back a day later, 3 days later, 5 days later, anytime before the deadline. If you need a deadline extension, do let us know, and you'll pick up right where you left off. All your previous answers are saved, and you don't have to get this all done in one sitting. Again, what makes this possible is the unique link, which, while it takes everyone to the same survey, everyone has a different link, so their answers can save in a separate place. That's what allows us to, have the survey that you can update over multiple sittings. But you should keep in mind, for that reason, you do not want to share a unique link outside of your organization. You only want to share it inside of your organization with colleagues who are helping you fill it out. And lastly, I'll mention we have put a lot of automated functions in place, real-time validations and alerts, carryover of your organization's previous survey responses to automate as much of this as possible and, kind of make it easier to fill out. All right, and lastly, before we turn to the questions, some tips and advice for improving your award level, or if this is your first time participating, making sure you get the best possible award level from this program. My first piece of advice is to provide as much information as you can. Bottom line, we only know what you tell us about your veterans program. The less you tell us, the less we're able to give you credit for. So the more you tell us, the more we're able to give you credit for. And strategically, I can tell you that for, I believe, every single question in the survey, whether your answers you think will compare very well with everyone else, or whether you think they'll compare very poorly with everyone else, even if they'll compare poorly, you are better off entering that information than leaving it blank. Some data is better than none. So with that being said, you are almost guaranteed to run into survey questions where you just don't track the data and aren't able to answer them. As this happens, first, please don't worry about it. We have designed the survey to advance the state of the art in the veteran employment data space. And this, unfortunately, means we're going to be asking some questions that not all organizations track just yet. So if your organization doesn't track some of these questions that we're asking, my advice would be, again, first, don't worry about it for this year. Answer what you can and move on. But I would be reaching out to your HR information systems folks and seeing how you can put systems in place next year to track this data so that for the 2024 Vets Indexes Employer Awards, you are able to provide an answer. Important as you're filling out the survey that you're answering all parts of a question and following the instructions and structure. Where you provide only partial information, we often, won't have enough to give you credit for the information you did provide. We need additional context. So fill out as much as you can. And finally, on the last page of the survey, before you actually submit it, you will get to a page that tells you this is the last page of the survey, asks you to review all of your responses, and kind of walks you through what you have to do. Please do carefully review your responses. Make sure all the information is accurate and it's all answered as thoroughly as possible. And of course, I've said it a few times already. I'll say it again. Please ask for help. If there's anything where you're not sure how to answer a question, or you're stuck, or you're having a technical glitch, survey@vetsindexes.com is my email. 202-570-3867 is my cell. All right, and with that, I am going to jump over into questions. I see we already have a few questions listed. I'm going to get into those. If anyone else has additional questions, please enter them now. Again, I recognize we're in a semi-public forum where not everyone would necessarily want to ask their questions for everyone else to see. So just reach out to me directly if you would rather that. So I will start with Mr. Johnson, asking if additional resources are provided to organizations that submit surveys after the reject, if they don't win awards. Yes. And those additional resources really come in the form of the Vets Indexes, the Veteran Employment Benchmarking Service, where we are able to take your survey answers and, go into great detail. I'll flip back to this, there we go, screenshot showing, just one question. This is just from one part, actually, of one question in the survey. Where we're pulling this data, but we can show you, question by question in a very granular way. Here's where you were, here's where you're exceeding other organizations, here's where other organizations are exceeding you. That can be very, very useful. Next question I see is on the survey, for the questions we're unable to provide data for, is that viewed negatively? Yes, it is. We are only able to provide, we're only able to credit organizations based on what they tell us. And where you don't tell us anything, we're able to make calculations for other organizations where we simply can't for you. So more information is better. Again, even if it's you think it will compare negatively, which you may be surprised. Sometimes people, think they're not doing so well in one area, and then when they see the comparative results, they realize, oh, we're actually kind of leaders. But more information provided is absolutely better. Okay, so next question is, will a copy of the slides be shared following this presentation? We're not going to send them out via email. We do have them available up on our website. And I'll take everyone to that right now. Give me 1 second, folks. It's going to be here in the news/media section, and it's under media. You can see here our previous webinar videos and the slide presentations downloadable. We will, at the same location, have this webinar and this webinar slides. So you absolutely will be able to get it. All right, so it looks like there's just one last question I'm seeing. If any remaining questions are still out there, please type them in right now. Otherwise, just reach out to me over email or on my phone, and happy to answer them. But let's see, this last question is, are the returns of the VETS index value weighted with heavier weighting going to 5- and 4-star winners, or just inclusive of all winners equally? Understood. So I think this is actually related to our financial indexes. And it's a very good question. The short answer to your question is yes. We don't include in our financial indexes every organization at every award level. We do limit it to the higher level awards. But it's kind of a more involved process in determining who is going to be added to the index eligible universe and who is not. There's liquidity concerns and average daily traded volume. There's a few kind of additional financial elements that are factored in. So Chris, if you would like more information on that, happy to talk about our indexes. Just reach out to me afterwards. So I'm not seeing any additional questions. It is 11:45 right now. So I think this is probably a good time to get things wrapped up. Really appreciate you all taking the time to join us on today's webinar. Again, the deadline to submit your responses is February 15th. We do have flexibility there, but if you need it, please reach out and let us know. Hope to see all of you participate. Hope to see your completed survey responses pretty soon. And I also hope to see you all at the Employing US Vets Conference, April 13th in New York City. Thank you very much for your time, and hope you have a great rest of your day.